Yeah, dog. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because it's something about the service on each. I really honestly think it's from my end. I'm not even gonna lie. I honestly think it's from my end. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, good afternoon. I'm Styrofoam Ralph. Welcome to the motherfucking hot box. This is the Friday lunch box, the afternoon special. You know I got my dog with me, one half of Sports Reports, as ordered, 2-5. Mike Will representing live on the motherfucking ones and twos. It's lunch break. It's lunch break. What it do, my brother?
Just chilling, man. You know what I'm saying? Just taking in some sun right now.
Yes, sir. So obviously, the first thing that we have on our Rolodex, man, you slid something across my desk the other day, and I thought it was very intriguing that Nick Saban is now going to be second in command to the collegiate command center or some
The
shit.
collegiate commission, yeah, like basically they're going to be trying to regulate and reform NIL
Of course.
through vessel of the president.
Okay. So now um, we have regulations of of people being paid now because obviously it's getting too out of control. And what the president said, which is very interesting to me, is that he sees the importance, he sees the international or the national importance of college sports so much so that he had to create an executive order and bring in one of the most storied college coaches of all time to basically rein in all these loose cannon players who are demanding to be paid so much money. So it's like, what? It only lasted a year officially. The NIL
Hmm.
officially only lasted one season. What
Well,
now?
well, it's been around since 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, there's if you look across the sports, there's been coaches that have left the game because of, I guess, quote unquote, the entitled athlete. So
Mm-hmm.
so in addition to Nick Saban, in college basketball, you had coaches like Jay Wright, Tony
Yeah.
Bennett, coaches that have won national titles, and Tony Bennett, like, he stepped down a week before the season started last year.
Yeah, bro. I
Um,
remember that.
so so people mad at the kids. What kind of shit is that? You
Yeah.
know, so I understand to a certain degree if you're a head coach from a certain perspective, you already have to go recruit and try to build your team for future seasons and all that. But now I have to pull in a guy that was on my roster this year, and I
And
got to
sales pitch.
convince you to stay too.
Yeah, I got a sales pitch
So
every season. Yeah.
yeah, so I can get how that can be frustrating. I can get how that can be undesirable, and you just don't want to put up with it. But at the same time, when I look at a coach like Kevin Willard, who we also talked about,
Mm-hmm.
he was the head coach at Maryland. He was talking a whole lot of trash publicly about the lack of basketball NIL dedicated funds that were coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he left for Villanova literally 2 or 3 days after they got eliminated from the tournament. You
Oh my
know,
God.
and and as you look at the NCAA tournament, there's 2 or 3 coaches that I can remember off the top of my head that left their positions basically the day after their team lost. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're a player and I came to play for this particular coach,
Right.
then why wouldn't I leave? But now when it comes to the money, with the revenue sharing that's coming down this year, all I see Nick Saban essentially saying is the boosters are out of control with what they're trying to give these students, but I still don't want the school to pay the players and have them be employees. That's what I get from it.
Yeah, because I feel like the cat is out of the bag at this point. So it's like it would kind of be mask off politics or like saying the quiet part out loud. It's like, okay, we don't like this. Like we don't like the freedom. We don't like the and not necessarily. you're not sitting around saying we don't like the fact that these kids are getting paid. We don't like the fact that they're earning a check. They don't like the fact that they now have leverage and they have or they feel like they have a say so, and they really do feel empowered. If they felt like, these students, just like they've been doing, getting money under I remember watching a program with Omar Epps. That movie came out in the early 90s. One of the first scenes was, bruh, we about to go to this little booster meeting. If somebody hand you some money, bruh, just tuck that jump. Don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Keep producing on the field. So it's like players have always been getting paid. But it's like now that they feel like they actually have a voice, that's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. So
what killed me about it is Nick Saban kept using the word unfair because he was talking about how these power schools are going to be able to pay their players more than, some of your lower tiered schools. So I was thinking about that comment, and I think that it's one of those situations where right message, wrong messenger, because he was out here winning national titles at Alabama and LSU. It wasn't like he took over Missouri or Illinois or Maryland or Pitt or some of these programs like that and then brought them to prominence. He went to two of the schools that are considered some of the top recruiting schools in college football, to include Alabama, who has more national titles than anybody else. So don't talk to me about what's unfair, what schools have resources versus the schools that don't. Because if what it was about, you would have been coaching at Northern Illinois or somewhere like that. You know what I mean? So it benefited you to have all the resources. And now that you stepped out the game, you're like, oh no, but I just don't see how Wake Forest is going to compete. You don't give a fuck about Wake Forest.
Not at all. And I think it's also funny now that you say that, because he's also in cahoots with Donald Trump. I mean, obviously Donald Trump has entered the chat on this whole, college football NIL thing. And you made
what we needed, right?
You said
no, that's not what we needed.
No, that's not at all what we needed.
What the American people voted for, right? They wanted the president, because wouldn't they tell us for like the last 8 years to keep your politics out of my sports?
They did say that.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, this is real. And another thing, another hypocrisy. I don't know what to call it, but another hypocritical point that they make. Because, like I said, now that Trump is in the game, you said that if they were to get rid of, or if they were to keep the NIL, all the schools that don't have as much money or as much resources as the other schools will suffer. But it's like, when you get rid of federal programs and you leave things up to the states, it's like you have no clue that when the lower states are going to be impacted the most. So it's like, bruh, I don't understand why politics are lining up in sports. I don't understand what Nick Saban is going to accomplish other than regulations. And I thought regulations were bad. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, this is just another classic way of ownership trying to rein back in the parade, or like what's the dude from the Houston, Steven Adams? Ain't that his name?
Yeah.
We can't let the inmates run over the prison.
It's inmates run the asylum.
Yeah, we can't let the inmates.
Well, no, that's not what he said though. He said run the prison.
Yeah, no, the dude from Houston, he quote him. He said to run the prison.
Yeah, that's an awful thing.
And that was when Deshaun Watson was basically saying, or the whole 2020 thing, like we should be more open for the racial bias conversation. We should be more open towards these things and the end racism stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's Stephen Ross. That's his name. Fuck.
Stephen Ross. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Deshaun decided to go on a string of massage parlor things.
It's funny because those accusations only came out right after he said, "I refuse to play for Houston," until they changed their attitude about the George Floyd thing.
Crazy,
Yeah, they
right?
snitched on him. They snitched on him. You know what I'm saying? They was like, yo, we got a whole SVU season right here.
And it
We
was
brought
crazy
Enos
because that
Wells. We
came
kicked you
out
out.
too that Houston might have been privy to whatever it was that was going on. And I
Hmm.
don't remember if I don't remember if Deshaun was acquitted from lack of evidence or if there was just, I forgot what happened. What exactly transpired for the verdict again, if y'all remember?
No, I don't.
He wasn't found liable of anything. He wasn't found guilty of anything, right?
Because it's multiple cases. There are so many cases was the issue.
So he had too many cases to be found guilty of one. Like I'm kind
Well,
of
no,
confused.
it's that he has so many cases that it literally became a case of where there's smoke, there has to be fire. And maybe we can't find the fire here, but you're more so found guilty in the court of public opinion than in the court of law. He also paid a lot of settlements on a few of the cases, and a few of them that actually went to trial. He was acquitted on a few of them. So it's a mixed bag, bro. But it's like Ice says on the Joe Budden podcast. Sometimes we got to be careful with the information that we give people, because people, if you don't give them the information, they can't use it against you. But once there's so many cases, it's really hard to fight against. But I don't want to get stuck there. I want to come back to that because you're having a really good conversation about Nick Saban.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
Yeah.
and sort of the NIL thing. And I think, if y'all haven't heard the latest episode of Sports Reports is Ordered, I believe the title it was something Public Enemy related. It was not Fight the Power or something like that.
No,
But
you're talking about I Ain't No Joke.
I Ain't No Joke. Sorry, Eric B. and Rakim.
Yeah.
I Ain't No Joke, right? They talked very extensively and very poignantly about this issue and about the fact that they want to talk about everything but instead of what's actually happened, in terms of the NIL and the fact that Nick Saban's issue with the NIL isn't the imbalance of power between schools; it's the imbalance of power between schools and the individual kids. And
Hmm.
to a degree, do I agree that some of that does need to be reined in? As I mentioned, I think that regulation is going to be necessary. You can't have kids coming back every year and asking for more money. Like, you can't say, "Oh, well, I played these first 5 games, under the mindset that I'm only going to have, 10 yards, 10 touchdowns, and now I have 20 touchdowns, so I need to reevaluate my contract in the middle of the year." Like, no, 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 no. We can't have that happening. We can't have kids saying, "Oh, well, we have extra games in the playoffs coming in, so I need to renegotiate for an additional $4 million per game while I'm sitting out." We can't have that. There needs to be regulation of NIL, but it cannot be. But to position it as, "Oh, I'm so worried about the little guy," that's disingenuous. It's a complete lie, and it's just an indicator of who these people are at their
Hmm.
core.
Hmm.
Like, if you just tell the truth, it's like I tell my kids, if you come to me and tell me that I don't like what you did, because I really want to be able to do what I want to do, I would respect that a lot more than you saying it's not fair that I can't do this.
Hmm.
You don't care about fairness. You care about getting what you want.
And that's why I wonder, like, how many Nikos are out there that we haven't heard about.
Who's Nico?
Talking about Nico Harris.
No, Nico, Leave Your
I'm gonna leave
Mama.
your mama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leave your mama for sure.
Yeah, like, how many of those
Okay.
situations are out there that we don't know about? Because I know Josh Pate in particular has talked about he wasn't the only one that did that, where it was like, hey, we made the playoffs. I signed my contract or whatever was for 12 games. Now we got extra games and I don't want to play for free. So I wonder how much of that is actually out there that we don't know about.
Yeah, that's wild. Like, I think the fact that has to be reined in, and I don't even know what the process for reining that in would be. I think getting Donald Trump involved is probably the worst thing that could happen. That guy, not to be, no, forget it, to be political and everything above it, because everything is political. Like, we live in a world where everything is political. When the president of the United States decides to try his hand at, quote unquote, fixing the college football system, it now becomes a political thing. Everything he's put his hands on has failed. Can we acknowledge that? And this could be another failure, another massive failure. So I'm gonna go back to Sports Reports Ordered when Logical was talking about it, right? And He was talking about the fact that that this guy wants to put his hands on it so that he can say I fixed it. No, it's not to say that he fixed it. It's so he can say I tried to fix it and it's so much better than it was before I started working on it. Yes, it's a failure. It was terrible before I got involved because again, this is just what we've seen him do over the course of history. It was terrible before I got involved, and I made it better than it's ever been, even though it's awful, and it may be worse. But he's gonna say that, and that's why he wants to get involved. Everything he's touched, he's done exactly that.
Hmm. And I think that like we were talking about Nick Saban, and I brought up Jay Wright and people like that have left their positions due to this. And the thing that confuses me the most about the reaction to it is that the schools aren't paying anything. This is just boosters that are paying it right now. These collectives that are paying it right now. So now, once we get into the revenue sharing that is supposed to start this year, where each school is going to be able to determine X is going to go to the football program, but then I have to do the rest of the programs in this other pot. That's where it's going to get interesting, because do I go out here and pay, let's just hypothetically say, $2 million for this quarterback, and then I only have X amount left that I still got to get to the basketball program? Or what do you do with the sports that don't generate income? Like, is there going to be a lot of Title IX that comes out of this?
Yeah, because I'm reading this thing right here, and it says the Commission on College Sports is expected to deeply examine the unwieldy landscape of college sports, including the frequency of player movement in the transfer portal, the unregulated booster compensation paid to athletes, the debate of college athlete employment, the application of Title IX to school revenue share payments, and even conference membership makeup and conference television contracts.
I think the fact that they've lumped all the sports in is finally going to come back to bite them. I think that you should have a pot of money that is directly related to the amount of revenue your sport brings in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's TV contracts, that's everything. The problem is that we'll have like the SEC. And he's okay with the SEC, and we cover all collegiate sports for all the schools within our conference. And that means all the sports for all the schools within our conference.
Right.
I think that right there was a problem from the beginning. And it you never should have had football paying for the debate team to travel. I'm using the debate team, or like swimming.
Yeah, for sure.
If people aren't paying to see swimming should have revenue, should move at the rate of swimming. So when swimming brings in money, all the swimming money goes towards swimming. Basketball should be paying for swimming facilities. But that's what we see happen.
But in them elite academies and stuff like that, like boating and yachting and all those prestigious sports, and like launder money and stuff, like racketeer and like give people
sure,
like
go for it. But
no, I feel you.
Fine. But within the conference, if I'm at Yale and Yale has a very big yachting program, right? And we are, as an organization, we want to give $10 million to this yachting program. It should just cover the yachting program. So now the yachting program has $10 million with which to operate. We shouldn't be saying, this is a pot of money that goes towards all collegiate sports. Because now the women look at that and say, okay, no, you can't just give to all the collegiate sports and leave us out. That's where they lose their leg to stand on.
Right, and that's why I brought up the Title IX. Yep, yeah.
That's where Title IX comes in. Because we just said, oh, well, no, this money is for men's collegiate football. That is all this money is for. And that is this pot of money. Just like a nonprofit organization, right? There's certain money I have within our organization that's restricted money. There's general operating funds that I can use for anything within the organization, but there's some money that I can only use for the Distinguished Gentlemen's Club mentoring program. I can't use it for the girls program. I can't use it for my in-school programming. I can only use it for that. So when I'm reporting out, I have to be able to show that all the money that I spend, if I get $10,000 for this program, that $10,000 has to be used within this program. If they set it up like that from the beginning, this would never have been an issue. The problem is that all the money came in as general operating funds for the entire athletics program for the schools, and now all that money has to be equally allotted across these programs, regardless of whether or not it brings
But
in money.
but that was regulation, right? Because a lot of these schools don't, or these programs don't make money. The swimming team doesn't make money. The lacrosse team doesn't
Then
make
get
money.
rid of it.
But hold on, wait. But by law, you're required to have a certain amount of programs, and if you have these programs, you have to have, the female alternate of that program too, which doesn't make
No,
money.
you don't. You don't though. You
But
don't
that's
have
where the
to have a
Title
female-
IX comes in. That's where it came
No.
from.
No, you don't have to have why don't we have a female equivalent to men's football?
Because women, I don't know. There's just not women football out
I
there.
don't
Like,
think they're
you know what I
doing
mean?
that. Yeah, I don't think they're doing that at school. There are definitely women's teams, but I don't think they're doing that like in public school though.
My point is,
College though. College. I'm sorry, college.
My point
I
is,
still don't
the
even
way
like
it's
even if
set
they're
up
doing
is-
an intramural league.
but they can do that because of the way it was set up in the beginning. Money was going into the athletic department. The athletic department said, we're going to spread this money amongst these other programs, whether they're making money or not. So the women are watching this and saying, well, y'all are spreading money across all these other programs that don't make money. We don't make money either. Why aren't you giving us the money?
But you also have to have like certain conferences, like the Big Ten, whatever. There's a certain number of programs that you have to sponsor to be members of those conferences.
Because of the way they set it up in inception. That's my point.
Right.
That's my point. When you have the wrestling team, nobody's paying. I'm just using. I don't know if you watch collegiate wrestling. I've only seen YouTube clips of wrestling on the internet. I've never sat down and like, ooh, wrestling's on ESPN. Let me sit down and watch collegiate wrestling, right? But when you're giving that sport X amount of money for uniforms, for travel, for all these different things, yeah, the women are looking at that and saying that doesn't make money, and you're giving them funds. Why isn't our sports getting funded? So now we're going in an effort to get things fair. We want that implemented. We want that included. Like I just think that if they're gonna fix this, that's one of the things they have to figure out. And for me, if a program does not bring in revenue, why am I using money? Because now when we talk about NIL, coming back to that, now we have these big deals, right? We have these big deals for billions of dollars for TV revenue. The TV revenue isn't to watch women's curling, but they have to be factored in.
Right.
Because in the beginning, it was for all of the pro sports that the school supports. The problem is in the initial setup.
But
That's
you're
how
saying
my point.
but you're saying in the new one they're going to make it more. Or did you feel like Trump is going to make it more sports specific, or maybe more men specific,
Trump
or
is
label
gonna ruin it.
specific?
No, I'm telling you that whatever Trump does, it's going to be bad. I'm telling you that out the gate. That's all I'm saying there. I'm saying if they're going to correct this issue, they have to go back to inception.
Right. Because I got one more short stanza. However, plaintiff's attorney Steve Berman called out Nick Saban and President Donald's discussions as the settlement seeks final approval. Legal experts say an executive order could create more problems, and Berman called for the conversations to cease while both sides work towards final approval for the House versus NCAA settlement. While he was a coach, Saban initially opposed NIL payments to athletes, pushing to add restrictions and red tape through legal legislation to add some sort of control, Berman said in a statement. During his time scrutinizing the athlete pay structure, he made tens of millions of dollars and was previously the highest paid coach in college football. Saban and Trump's 11th hour talks of executive orders and other meddling are just more unneeded self-involvement. College athletes are spearheading historic changes and benefiting massively from NIL deals. They don't need this unmerited interference from a coach only seeking to protect the system that made him tens of millions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of states where the football or basketball coach is the highest paid employee in the state.
For sure. I think I ran into the what's it called, bro? I think it's 48 out of 50.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Paid, well, public employee is the sports coach
Right.
for the
And I'm not saying that needs to be regulated, but at the same time, you're trying to regulate the have-nots to
for
protect
sure.
the
That's
haves.
right.
And that's what always confuses me about Americans in the first place is that, you know what I'm saying, like the poorest people or like the middle class of the middle class always support the billionaire.
For sure. We don't want those. Why they gotta make money? Why can't they just go to school for free and put their bodies on the line? And if they make it to the league, they make it. And if they don't, they don't. Why can't they just just shut up and dribble? So, I mean, I don't understand a lot of it. I think it's interesting to say the least that, like the guy said, like it's just the 11th hour. They trying to get this in, right at the last minute. Radical Jack, what do you feel about the NIL and the involvement? Do you feel like Donald Trump is onto something as far as trying to regulate player empowerment?
I think that I don't know, bro. I'm torn. I'm torn. I mean, me and Rez already talked about Donald Trump earlier, so I'm kind of just like,
Well, we don't even have
it's not
to base it
necessarily
around
about Trump,
him.
though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole NIL thing to me is it's so hard to have like a concrete opinion on it. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel like it's dope, but at the same time, I do kind of like. I think they should have cap. I think there should be a cap on how much money they can make. For instance, right? I don't think any college player should be making $3 million. You know what I mean? And I get it, right? Because we got alumni, we got people that put money into the schools. So because of that, the school can afford to pay these kids, $10 million or whatever. You know what I mean? But for instance, let's just say Shedeur was making $6 million at Colorado, right? And then he went to the NFL. Now he's making $500K. Where's the incentive to be a great player? You know what I'm saying? When I know I can make a bunch of money in college, and then honestly, I don't even have to really ball out in NFL no more. I can make all the money I need, and then when I get to the league, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, fuck it. Like, I'm here now, you know what I'm saying? If I get cut, I made enough lifetime money, so who cares? I just think it advises not to be totally motivated, you know what I mean? And even like, a lot of people disagree on the whole Shedeur thing, but I'm like, Buddy was cocky because he was already getting paid for one. And for two, it's like, whatever. Like, I don't really need this shit. Like, he never
Will
felt
Howard getting paid too?
You said what?
Yeah. But I think that's the thing about what you said though, is that, because we were talking about, me and Raph were talking about like the one and done rule in the NBA. So, you got in your, or your high school, like your Kobe's and your Kevin Garnett's and people like that. But there's a whole shit ton of kids that tried to do that it didn't work out for. So like when you're talking about the NIL and everything, using the Big Ten as an example, the Big Ten has a $7 billion contract from these sports stations that the kids don't see any of. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I do agree that there should be certain caps, but I think the kids should be getting the right money in the first place.
Proportionate to what they're generating for their schools. I think so.
And it's name, image, and likeness. So you can't really cap what somebody's willing to pay, like, because they're getting like sponsorship deals through dealerships and other things outside of the money that they're getting from the boosters or whatever. So like if a car dealership is willing to give me $1 million to advertise them, you can't cap that. That's the free market, right?
For sure. That's exactly how it's intended to work. I set the price, you determine if it's valuable.
And with that, it's like,
can't hear you, Jack.
Oh, I said with that rule, you can't cap it off.
Still can't hear you. Super low.
You said something about with that something you still can't cap it off.
Mr. Benches, do you have any ideas or opinions on college athletes being able to be compensated for their name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should. I think they should be paid in accordance to, ticket sales, the draw of their name, because we have a lot of people who show up just for the name alone. And then, like, 25 was saying, they need to get a part of that 7 billion. Like, if that's gonna be the case, they're being advertised on TV, used as a selling point. I know here in on 95, they be having the players on the billboards and shit for VCU and stuff like that. Like,
Hell yeah,
yeah,
they do
bro,
be having brands
that's
on
a
the billboard
draw.
for sure.
A lot
I
of
wonder if
people
they
look
get
at
paid for
college sports exactly like a lot of people view college sports the same way that they would view the NFL or something like that. Like I feel like a lot of that is just as big. Shit, Holland Springs, Verona, that should be like the Super Bowl
Yeah,
for
for sure.
real. So
Definitely.
so it's just like yeah, bro, all of that. They need to be making at least a percentage. You know what I'm saying? Of all of that, everything.
So 2-5, do you see because right now the way that NIL works is you got students, athletes who don't get paid anything, and then you have student athletes who are making $3 million a season.
Right.
Could you see a format where they just make them all employees? Everybody
I
signs a
think
contract, everybody gets a stipend, or maybe not even payment, maybe full rides. Maybe everybody gets tuition,
I,
boarding,
I think that
food.
that will probably end up being the end game because that's the thing that's probably the easiest and the thing that makes the most sense. The problem is that's what they're fighting tooth and nail to the end. Because remember, like what was it, 10 years ago, Northwestern tried to unionize, and then there was a story I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe last year, where Dartmouth basketball was trying to do the same thing, and that's what they're meeting the resistance for because the schools just don't want to be on the hook for paying these employees. So if I'm at a school like Texas
Absolutely.
A&M and I got these oil dudes that's paying Jimbo Fisher's buyout, yeah, I want you to chip in on these players. I don't want to have to come out of my pocket, but that's where the revenue
But I
sharing
mean, but
comes
they
in. But
shoot,
what's
they
going to be the
always
limits?
subsidize everything else. Get
Right,
subsidized
but
by the boosters.
what's going to be the limits of the revenue sharing? Because like I said, that starts this upcoming season. So what's going to be the cap? Like I know they talk about percentages, like this percentage has to go to football or whatever, but how do you come up with the number that you're starting with from the beginning?
That will be an
That
interesting
TV deal,
discussion.
$7 billion, but 3%. Find out what's 3% of 7 Bs. Spread that across every player that wears a helmet. If you got a helmet,
Yeah, because
you know
But
what I'm
see,
saying?
but that's what, but see, that's where it gets really annoying because the high end of the conversation is these kids have bring in X amount of money for these schools, but we're not at all trying to actually figure out which kids are bringing in all this money for these schools and paying them appropriately. Instead, we're saying let's pay every kid like they're bringing in money for the school.
But I mean, but
right.
it's
And
I still feel like that's
how do you
the
determine?
we're talking about. Go ahead.
And how do you determine like because these are the things that we have to factor in. If I'm Tim Tebow at Florida, right, and I know when I go to the football field on Sunday, 90% of the stadium has on 15 jerseys in blue and orange. They're not
That could be the
wearing
NIL though.
my. I'm not. No. Because when we're talking about this conversation, that's what I was saying earlier. We're not even like I don't want to get paid the same amount if we're doing cost sharing as the kid who's the third string backup um, linebacker.
But that's what I'm saying though. Make everybody employees, but then the NIL is where the big names, image and likenesses, the boosters. The school is going to pay a flat rate for everybody who wears their name and plays an athletic sport. The NIL is going to kick in the boosters and the collectives who are not a part of the universities who they made it known that these people are separate. The school is not paying these people. we have collectives and boosters who are willing to get together, just like the way we pay Bryce Underwood. The Michigan could be paying them a flat rate per semester or whatever, and then Barstool can still come in and say, Bryce Underwood, I know you know what I'm saying? I know you're getting paid this much here at Michigan, but we still gonna throw you a little to make sure that you stay here.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, I just don't like the idea from a standpoint of like we're not actually addressing the issue. The issue is that they are because now I look at it like kids who really aren't doing anything benefiting off of the labor of people who are doing a lot more than them.
I mean, they made the team.
So to me,
I feel like if you're on the team and you practice.
No, I don't want to hear that. No, I don't want to hear that. If I'm the star player, I don't want to hear, oh, he comes to practice.
Sure.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. Like everybody.
No, I never had.
That's what I'm saying.
Equal everything.
I get what you're saying. Though.
Okay.
What if instead? What if instead? Because they have GMs in college, right?
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Each team had a salary cap, and you got to negotiate every year your salary. Now that's annoying.
No.
But if you're gonna have employees create a salary cap that you're legally bounded to by contract, and you get to negotiate that every year. So now I'm bringing kids in, I'm recruiting kids, and as employees, they negotiated their salary, and they're playing for their salary.
Okay.
So this is the play.
Okay.
I can rock with that.
I think that's how it should be. I think that's how it should be. Like you should be able to negotiate your salary, and I still think there should be a cap.
Mr. B, you gotta mute
What
up.
is that?
All right.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah, I got it.
You put it on top of the bread or on top of the chicken?
Yeah, what is that?
That's Mr. Bitches
Yeah,
talking to
like-
somebody.
Yeah, that was Mr. Bitches talking to the bitches.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I think that would work. You negotiate your contract, blah blah blah. Which I guess they do to a certain degree, but it's just like, yeah, if you're on the team and you're just there, I don't think you should get a check at all. You should still be a broke college kid trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? I think the money should be.
But then that's
reserved for the
again
stars.
creating hierarchies. They're all supposed to be on equal playing field, and the ones who actually do have name, image, and likeness that they can make additional money off of through endorsements, through advertising, through boosters coming through collectively and saying that we feel like you are a good enough player to impact our team. We're going to pay you outside of what you're already making that you negotiated with the college. We are going to come on top of that and persuade you to either stay here or come here.
Well, you see, Cubs, that's
So-
the thing. Like, so the name, image, likeness thing, that does get tricky, right? Because, like, if NCAA comes out and I play for the Florida Gators and I'm a nobody, yeah, I should still get paid. I agree. You're right.
And they did.
But, yeah, and that was my biggest thing for the whole NIL thing. Like, trying to, Reggie Bush got in trouble for taking money. Just penalizing anybody for taking money is insane. You know what I mean? So I always agreed with that. But I also think that, that it's just not fair. But, that we're going to categorically disagree on that. Because, like, I'm big on classism and all that kind of stuff. I don't think everybody deserves
Well, I don't
the same.
think it was classism. I just don't understand. It's like, so you feel, again, because the problem is that the students are really left out to dry because, again, it's not like the NFL where you're going to have the same 11 or 11 to 13 players on the field. In college, they rotate frequent.
Right.
So it's like to say that the third player on the bench, just because he might not play every game, he's definitely seeing snaps for sure. And he's
But
definitely
he's not the
pushing
starting
guys in
quarterback.
practice.
But he's not the first string quarterback that starts every game and brings in the bulk of the revenue. Or we're talking about revenue sharing conversation.
That's why he negotiates his contract. He negotiates it. Everybody gets to negotiate hypothetically.
Contract, right?
Everybody gets to negotiate a contract to be compensated because they haven't been fairly compensated at all. They make too much money. They make too much bread to not be compensated at all.
Well, no,
Yeah.
so business 101. Your value is what people are willing to spend for you. That's business 101. That's very elementary business, right? So if you negotiate a contract that says, okay, I'm coming to the scope of $50,000 this year because I'm slated to be the third string linebacker for this team. Regardless of what
That's
happens, I'm
absolutely
making
better than going there
$50,000
for
this year.
free.
Correct, right. So they negotiate that. And that is a legally binding contract. You are playing under this deal. Now, at the end of the year, if we realize we're gonna move you up to, to the starter or to second string, you get to renegotiate. Or you think you outplayed your deal, you can renegotiate that. But that's something they can do on an annual basis.
Or you could have
Like, that's
incentives, I
something they
guess.
can easily do. Or you can have incentives. Again, if you these people, and that's why I'm like, if these people want to step into these positions and say, "Oh, I'm a GM," well, now you really got a GM. Negotiate contracts.
For sure.
Andy
Absolutely.
Luck.
Especially,
Instead of
you
just
know what I'm
being
saying? And I'm not saying,
a
I'm not
famous
saying like the
person
last
that's
person.
just making phone
Yeah.
calls.
I feel like everybody should, because I feel like that's the way to legitimize it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like to
Because what do
to
you
make
what do you
sure
do
that
in a
everybody
situation?
is. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you do in a situation? And this is just for conversation. What do you do in a situation where you got a starter, and then 3-4 games in, you decide like, this dude's been ineffective. The second string is the starter now. Like
Well, no,
I guess
you
that.
negotiated the deal for that year, though. You already negotiated the deal for that year. Think about it in a real contractual situation. Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft. He's
Right.
been the starter for the last 3 years, still playing on the contract that he had 3 years ago.
Right.
So when your
There you
contract's your
go.
contract, and that's why for them, if you do it annually, or you say, okay, we'll give you this base salary with an incentive. If you have additional play time, you get X amount of snaps or whatever. GM doing GM jobs. Now, yeah, you can make more money based on the fact that you have this amount of play time. And at the end of the year, you have the right to renegotiate your contract.
So where do you stand
that's
on
interesting.
them being employees?
That's part of being an employee.
That's interesting though. Since they, I mean, hypothetically, you would want to say that it would be on a year-to-year basis. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing's promised in college.
Because it's college, because they
can
can leave. But if they have, but I think it should be year to year because of the fact that situations can change so much from year to year in college.
Absolutely,
And I also think when you're having that conversation, you have to have a transfer portal conversation as well.
But my question was going to be: do you think that they would put those stipulations in those year-to-year contracts? Like, bro, if I don't play at least 70, if I'm fully healthy and I don't play at least 75 to or whatever percent of the snaps, bro, I gotta play those snaps. If I'm healthy, I gotta that's in my contract.
No, if I'm an agent, I try to work that in, but there's no way I can regulate how much a coach does or doesn't play you.
That's what I'm saying though, because I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm playing a certain amount of snaps or something like that on my contract or whatever, like
we see that in the NFL all the time.
We see that in the NFL. We always talk about like, oh, hey, that guy, if he does this today, he gets an extra $500,000.
But y'all talking about for incentives. I thought y'all were talking about like just in the groundwork for a contract. Y'all talking about incentives, like bonuses. I thought y'all was talking about laying that out in the contract. Like, I need to play this amount of snaps if I'm healthy. I was about to say, I don't think that's
you can't regulate that because what if he's terrible?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I was about to say, yeah.
But we have this freshman coming in. We have this freshman coming in. Oh, we want to give him 30 snaps a game, and that guy comes in and he's a dud. I'm not gonna give him 30 snaps just to give him 30 snaps. Hell no.
Because I think we should allow people to fall on their swords. Just like 25 was saying, like, what if you sign somebody to a big contract and he's not good? Like, bro, you go put him on the bench, you go eat that money that you just signed him to. Like,
yeah, like Florida State didn't take any money back from DJ.
Nope.
You gonna eat
and if anybody deserves it.
You know what I'm saying? Now where I guess it is out of control, but you can't really do anything about it, is a guy like Carson Beck, right? Who towards ACL or whatever it was last year, towards the end of the season, didn't play in the playoffs. And then Miami was like, yo, here's $4 million. Like, you can't really do anything about that if Miami want to be stupid.
But that's the
For
market,
sure.
though. That's the market, which goes back to what I think Jack was saying earlier. There needs to be some kind of cap. Like I don't think that there should be a cap on NIL. I think that your NIL, if you can bring in $20 million from somebody, get your $20 million. But in terms of like within like the confines of which that collective, oh, we're collectively sharing this revenue, then yeah, there should be an amount of like, okay, we can quarterbacks get a max of this amount of money. And
You
like, so
talking
don't
from
come back to me
NIL
and
or
tell me
like
that you.
the hypothetical contracts?
I'm talking about the collective, the sharing, the revenue sharing generation
Right.
from the
Oh, okay.
the the, the,
Yeah,
the
because
TV
where the
deals and stuff like
revenue
that.
sharing, well, to me, where revenue sharing is interesting is basketball because, you got these Cooper Flags, these Zions, John Walls,
Right.
and people like that coming in.
Yep.
So how do you balance that of like, I want to get this marquee guy. There's only 13 to 15 guys on this team, and I got to
Uh-huh.
find a way to pay this guy, what I think he's worth while not losing the rest of my class.
Yeah, and you got to remember that that's really, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of all the college players, you're talking less than 1% of college. You're talking less than 1% of the players in college that fall into that realm. Like there's one Cooper Flag. There's less than 1% of college basketball has the name recognition of Cooper Flag.
Uh huh. But I just think it's interesting, like, like I said, like you got somebody like him, but then hypothetically, the Duke program wants to build up. You know what I mean? Duke is obviously more basketball than football, even though football is the money generator. So it's
Uh-huh.
like I gotta get Cooper Flag. So, now I gotta figure out how this affects one, the other guys that I'm trying to get in the same recruiting class and still balance out the sport that makes the money.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I think that's when you sort of get
I
to
don't
find
know
that
how
balance.
hard y'all rock with I don't know how hard y'all rock with DeepSeek and ChatGPT,
Oh, I love
but
ChatGPT so much. I don't know what DeepSeek is.
Are you saying as
so
far as ChatGPT being evil?
no, I'm saying like as far as like credible sources, like if it's like
Oh,
taking
okay.
like what they say, like
Oh,
as
I rock with
for
Uh,
ChatGPT.
so
ChatGPT is credible only because the
so
people behind it, they do try to make it fact based type of. It's kind of like Google, where it's
Yeah.
majority. It's meant to be useful information and not just whatever. Wikipedia
Yeah,
is
their
kind of like
sources.
that
Yeah.
too. I feel
but
like
wasn't Google cited for not having like their AI wasn't I didn't want to go off on a tangent,
no,
but
no,
it's
no.
like
You're
I don't
right.
think
No, you're
Google was like
absolutely right. That's why I said
fact
it's
check.
supposed to be. It's supposed to be based off of
Word.
Is
factual
Mr.
information,
Bitches trying
but
to talk to us?
Yeah,
I was
my
saying,
fault, my fault. I got you.
Live from the tornado.
yeah, my bad.
Mr. B.
My bad. These kind of people gave me some Ethiopian food, but I was saying, like, don't you have to pay for ChatGPT?
there's cheaper. I mean,
Nah,
there's ways
There's
around
a
it.
free version of it. I pay for mine
Okay,
now. The one I pay for, I have a paid version of it now, but there's a free one.
okay, okay.
I use DeepSeek.
I use
It's
Perplexity.
also it's also like you can also use it in you can go to Snapchat and they got like a little AI bot. It's ChatGPT. Like,
I don't use
Really? Oh
Snapchat
shit.
So
anything for my kids.
basically I asked it hypothetically, how could revenue sharing change the landscape of college sports, particularly pertaining to players being paid? And I know we spoke about Title IX earlier. It said it could be a revenue sharing will force schools to pay male athletes equally or risk lawsuits. A possible fix could be only revenue generating sports share profits, but this could trigger discrimination claims. Non-revenue sports
Yep.
Yeah,
are at risk.
that's why I brought up Title IX. Yep.
I mean, it's just like paying the males and the females the same. It's not fair. But
Not only that, but then you
Conference.
got to worry about them. Now they're gonna start coming after the kids. Cause think about that. Now they're gonna be chasing you from high school, maybe even middle school. Like you know what I'm saying? This is gonna turn into a whole fiasco of them targeting kids, like specific kids, because now they're paying for it, so they only gonna want like those star players.
Well, they already
Yeah.
doing
So
that.
yeah,
Yo, why is
yeah.
Zaxby selling shrimp?
Like I think
Real shit.
Kentucky, like Kentucky back in like 20, I want to say it was like 2019. They already had a commit to the 2027 class.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bro. It's eighth graders doing committals, bro, for sure. Or
No,
like
Oh
some of
not
the
wow.
like
younger
non-urban
seventh
committals for
graders.
sure. You said what
Y'all
happened?
remember Seventh Woods? Y'all remember Seventh Woods? Seventh Woods was committed in like 6th or 7th grade. That was
What'd you
like
say,
10
Rez?
years ago.
Mm.
Seventh
All right.
Woods. Y'all remember Seventh Woods? My daughter played in the tournament with Seventh Woods.
Oh wow.
Number
He
three
committed to
was
UNC in like middle school, in like 6th or 7th grade.
I don't remember Seven Woods.
2-5. You remember Seventh Woods? 2-5 frozen.
2-5
Two five
says
froze. Oh
shit.
yeah, he froze. Yeah, he froze. But number three was is he trying to get back in? Oh shucks. Did I freeze? Am I still here?
You're not frozen. I see you.
Mm-mm.
All right. Number three is realignment on steroids. Power two domination, basically SEC and Big Ten. Leagues with $1 billion plus in TV deals could offer higher salaries, making them pro-style super leagues. For an example, SEC schools might be able to pay their players $200K, while groups of 5 might be only be able to play $20K. Smaller
Don't
schools
they
might
love
drop
survival
out.
of the fitness?
Come on, bro.
Don't they love in the SEC? Don't they love pull yourself up by your bootstraps?
That's the common theme. And the smaller schools obviously might drop out. FCS or mid majors could abandon D1 if they can't afford the payroll. Unionization and labor rights. Athletes can become employees. Revenue sharing would likely require formal employment contracts. And player reps negotiating benefits like healthcare and revenue splits. And holdouts. I got it. There's an echo. There's an echo somewhere. All right, yo. All right. And holdouts and strikes, obviously. NFL, NBA minor league threat. If schools pay well enough, elite players might skip the draft. NFL could expand developmental leagues to compete. Could you imagine that? Instead of like really go well, I mean, I guess that's what the XFL is, right?
Well, that's what baseball does, right? You got the AAA and all that stuff.
And it says a
We
wild
can't hear you,
card.
Riz. Like I saw you talking, but we didn't hear what you said.
And this says a wild card as a super conference breakaway. The top 20 to 30 schools might secede from the NCAA, forming a
And that's what
closed
I've been talking about. Yeah.
league.
That's what I've been talking about basically how the Big Ten and SEC are going to turn into AFC, NFC. You know what I mean? And you might have your your Notre Dames, your Florida States, like your big name programs from the other conferences, but no Wake Forest, no Syracuse, no Iowa State. But that's something that I've been talking about. And if the NCAA is still around in 2030, I would be really surprised.
Wow.
And I mean because they're just doing like the NCAA, nobody listens to them anymore. Like, they're not an authority anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like Michigan, like look at your team. Look at your team. They like, yo, we gonna suspend our coach, but we gonna choose the games that he's suspended for. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
like, yo, he playing his alma mater in week 2, so we don't want him suspended for that. So we gonna suspend him games 3 and 4 instead of 1 and 2.
That's how. I mean, look, when you a blue blood, when you a blue chipper, you can make those kind of moves. You know what I'm saying?
I guess so.
Arizona State, get out of here. That guy Kevin, he would have been 1 and 2. Fuck what you got.
Well, that's what I always tell Unc about North Carolina, right? They got busted for that academic fraud, and they didn't really get in trouble for it. But I'm sure like there's schools out here getting punished for it. you know. So that's where it gets into it, and that's why I kept bringing up the Title IX, because Title IX is just simply about fairness. Yeah. Like forget your logic, forget what makes sense. Is it fair? And you know what I mean. So if the women's sports aren't being included under these umbrellas, you're gonna find yourself in trouble.
For sure. Well, I mean, isn't he trying to get rid of Title IX anyway?
I believe so, but I don't know how likely that is.
I think he is trying to get rid of Title IX.
Who, Donald?
Because isn't Title IX through the Department of Education?
I believe it is.
So by defunct, if he gets rid of that, Joe, Title IX is gone as well, right?
Right. But that's where I think that's where the courts step in. You know what I mean? And at the very least, it's delayed because you're fighting it.
That would have been a good question to ask Rez.
Yeah, because I don't know how you get rid of Title IX because, like, one, you know, everything that we had to do to get Title IX in place. You know what I mean? And then what it represents, too.
Definitely.
Like, we would be going back to the 1960s if we got rid of something like Title IX.
Oh, God, that shit would be fucking ridiculous. That shit would be crazy.
But that's the problem with somebody like Nick Saban is because you would expect these type of comments and behaviors from an outsider who was never affiliated with the sport.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you got the guy that was at the top of the mountain, considered the greatest coach ever. That's basically like, nah, these kids are making too much. Meanwhile, like Nick Saban not only was making whatever he was making as Alabama's head coach, but there were people in Tuscaloosa that was paying off his house for him.
Come on, bro.
Oh wow.
Come on, bro. Nick Saban.
And you gonna tell me that somebody else is making too much money when even at their highest, you know what I'm saying? Like the highest dude is probably making a quarter of what Nick Saban was making. And it's not like so I guess where this could come into play is it possible that this stuff can start to affect
Hey,
this
Mr.
stuff?
Yes.
Is it possible to get off the ocean front?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad.
Like so is it a thing where the revenue sharing and whatever you have to do, is that going to start affecting what you're paying your coaches?
I think so.
You know what I'm saying? So instead of paying that coach $9 million now, you know what I'm saying, you might have to pay him $5.5. And I think that's where like these guys are kind of speaking from. You know what I'm saying? And if you're a millionaire, you ain't necessarily, because that's the same thing Coach Prime said, right? They asked him, like, are you willing to coach in the NFL one day? And he was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those are grown men that going to make more money than me.
Yeah.
So like now you're talking about, so now you're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds that got a bank account full of money and you trying to raise your voice at them, they'll just transfer.
Straight up.
So that's where maybe to some degree you gotta, and I hate to, you know, even go there, but that might be where you have to regulate the transfer portal itself, where, you know what I mean? Like, hey, if you come in as a college, and this is where contracts come in, you got to be here at least 2 years before you can transfer. Or, hey, you get that first transfer for free. You want to transfer again? You got to sit out a year. You know, that might be where you get into those type of conversations.
Do you think they start taking back years of eligibility?
Yeah. What's up, Lethal?
What's up, guys? All right, so because I'm just jumping into y'all NIL talk. Y'all feel like with this whole wave that the college sports is going with the NILs, transfer portals, is this like a early setting for players when they get to the league to deal with like free agency contracts? Like, is this like a pre-trial to them in a sense? Like this a pre-setting where they get an early exposure to this to see how to handle that shit later on down the road? Or is this going to be something where players just rather take the money instead of actually working for the money, earning the money.
I think that's not by design. I think what's happened. I think that is happening, but I think that wasn't the design. That's just the unintended effect of the system that's put in place.
Is them earning they pay more significant now than it is for the players that might try to earn their pay in the league for their second contracts and stuff like that?
I mean, you always want to try and get paid as early as you can if you got the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see holdouts and stuff like that because you don't have to because you could just transfer somebody to pay
I
you.
was like,
What's going on, Unc?
I'm saying, what up, Unc in the building?
Happy birthday, Coach Tomlin. Fuck Duke. Fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Oh boy.
but the way the money is right now, you would think like, you know how like when players come into the league now, they get their first contract and that's their rookie contract. And you know what I'm saying? They always talk about they trying to make it to the second contract. Like it's all about getting to the second contract. So when we get into like the college players with the NIL deals and how much they make off of their NIL, will that play a factor into how much money they want or try to get when they get to the league and working on their try to get to their second contract? Like, will the money matter more?
No, I mean, I think it's just different because check it out. What was Shador making last year at Colorado, and what is his rookie deal in the NFL? Was it more or
His
less?
rookie deal is like $4.9 million.
Okay, it's less.
It's less.
What was Ashton Genty making? What was Ashton Genty making at Boise State?
I have no idea.
That's a great question. No, I think he's probably making more now because he's already something like the second highest paid running back in the league right now.
Yeah, he was a top pick. He making like
He's
30.
the second highest paid. It's
Yeah.
good. It's just really based off the value. Because
But also in college,
Are you
So
talking just 1 year
much
or
does
the
money start to
totality?
affect- How much does money really matter now to these players coming out?
Probably
of
just
college
1 year.
compared to them?
Okay,
but you're
so
still
if you're
also
doing,
talking about
say,
the top percentage of the students. For most kids,
Exactly.
going from college to the NFL is a massive pay increase, even with NIL.
But
some of
for
them
most
are
of
going
those
to
kids,
even
they
the top
don't make $1 million.
But
Most
I
of those
mean,
kids don't make $1 million in NIL.
Right.
I'm not refuting what Rez is saying, but all I'm saying is that Shador Sanders was one of the highest paid players, and he took a pay cut to join the league. But another player took a pay increase to go along with what you're saying. Like it's going to be different. The case is going.
I mean, but that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen just because it's not a full 1-to-1 transition. You know, like I was mentioning, like we've seen Heisman winners play a year or two in the NFL and then just disappear. So that's going to happen. And Shador didn't take a pay decrease because of something outside of
His
legal
control.
bounds. People just felt that he wasn't qualified to be a first round pick, and there were only so many teams that needed a quarterback to step in. Like this was just an abnormal draft. If Shador comes out next year, that might not even happen.
And I'll add this on top of what you just said. When you're talking about NIL is essentially endorsements.
True.
Yeah.
We don't
Just
know
like-
what
just like
Shador's his endorsement money is. We
Just
talking about
like
NFL
Morgan,
contract.
he came in.
Right
he
now,
came in
last
a
year, last year, from the school from University of Colorado, he really didn't make any money. He made his money in endorsements. So what you got to compare is his endorsement money to his endorsement money. Last year, he got really no money to play football.
Yeah, but then you got to look at it like the setup behind it. Like Marvin, when he came out,
Ain't that what the NIL is though?
His
It's not salary.
his NIL was pretty high, so you already know he was going.
Yeah, but NIL isn't being paid to play football. NIL is
name, image, and likeness. It's your ability to.
True.
It's
True.
endorsements.
And I feel like when you make that, I feel like for certain players.
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't paid to play football. He was paid off his
like,
name, image, and likeness.
And but based off of the player in college, based off your name, image, and likeness, if you like Jeremiah Smith right now, he's getting about like almost $8 million. You know what I'm saying, off the name, image, and likeness. Then when you get to the league, he
Is
done
he?
already touched a nice bag. It's like when you get to the league, it's like I feel like money is not like a main priority when you get to the league because already touch a what I'm saying a bag in
What is it?
college.
Are you specifically asking though, bro? Are you saying like is money not the motive to make it to the league? Are you saying we're not
I don't
not
think
worried about making it to another contract since I'm
I
already
think
getting paid in college?
I look at back then your motive was to when you get to the league to get that big that pay to get that bread. But now that they have the players have access to getting money now, it's like the motive to get into the league to get paid is not the same motive. Now they just want to get to the league to get to the league
You're not
rather than
making
get to the league to
generational
get
wealth
paid.
from NIL. You're not making generational wealth
You can
from
though.
NIL.
You can
No,
though.
you
No,
can't.
we're not.
No,
You
no,
can't
you
take. You
can't.
don't think you can take your
No,
money that you
$7
make?
million
not.
is not generational
No, I'm
wealth, my guy.
saying you don't. But you don't think you could take your NIL money that you make and
You're
put it
adding
so
things
and put
in.
it and
You're
put it
adding
and
things
put it
in.
into
You're adding
something where
things
you
in.
can create a generational wealth for yourself.
You're
No, you
adding
can, but
things in.
You would
you,
never, bro. I'm
you
telling you
could,
right
but
now,
we're just talking about
if
the
you got
baseline of the
paid,
pay.
Okay. But
Nico, leave your mama would not retire from football right now and was like, bro, I got NIL, bro, I'm good.
Dog, I got $4
DJ
million, dog.
Ukulele does not want to retire on his NIL bread, bro. He does not want to retire on his NIL bread. He wishes he could play football. Isn't he on the team? Isn't he undrafted free agent?
$4 million is not lasting you for the rest of your life. You cannot retire on $4 million.
I mean, hey,
It's not gonna
I
happen.
feel what you're saying. I feel it.
So the idea that people are like, oh well, I'll just skip the NFL and just play in college as long as I can. That's never gonna happen. You will always be able to make more money in the NFL than you make in college. Always.
Besides the fact that saying like, if I'm gonna get injured, I want to get injured on the NFL field.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you got
There's not even
unions
a pension.
and you
Yeah,
got
there's not even a
unions and
pension in
insurance
college.
and all that stuff. Now
$4
basketball.
million is $4 million. The $4 million is a $4 million after tax.
Exactly. That
I mean,
too.
but that's the same when
Hell
you get
no.
to the league, though. That's the same with the league, unless you depend on what state you're in. If you're in the, what I'm saying, state tax free zone. But I feel that.
No, nobody's gonna hang their hat on the NIL deal. It's like, bro, you know what? Fuck it.
Unless
I
you know
don't
you're
gotta
not
go
going
the
to the
draft. I got
league.
paid from
Unless you know you're not going to the league, or you might not have that potential to make it in the league. Some might just take the NIL during because some people don't go to the league anyway.
This
Well,
might be.
well, that's why.
I'm telling. So let me put it in perspective real quick. Just real quick. Nico, leave your mama. This might be his last paycheck. This might be his last opportunity to earn a single dollar playing sports.
Yes.
He is not looking at this season like, okay, I got bread. I'm about to mail it in, or I'm about to.
Correct.
No, he's fighting for his life
Correct.
right now.
Correct.
Right. And that's why I thought the Cooper Flag conversation was so interesting because, people were saying, could he stay at Duke? Like, yeah, he could. I don't know what that would look like as far as what he would generate. But I know the number one overall pick gets about $14.8 million. I don't think he's getting that much from college.
No. And that's just salary. That's not even the Nike deal he's going to get.
Right.
Come on, bro.
Like, shoot, remember LeBron?
Speaking of which, while we're
LeBron
here,
came to the league. LeBron came to the league. His I want to say his first deal was like $9 million a year or something like that. He had 90
And then he got
million
90 from Nike.
walking in.
Yeah.
quick question. This we had a discussion a while back about, since he's talking about the Leave Your Mama dude. Y'all said you couldn't go from one SEC team to another SEC team, correct?
Just in the spring. Just
So
in the
that
spring
only
portal.
applies-
Just in the spring portal.
Okay, so that doesn't apply to basketball as well,
I don't know.
That's a good.
or am I missing something?
–
Because Malaysia went from South Carolina to LSU.
She went to LSU?
She did go to LSU.
Yeah.
I think it's just a football
Hold
rule.
on.
That's crazy.
Okay, quick, yeah, help me out. Cause they, according to her new coach, they had one phone conversation, and that sealed the deal off of one phone conversation. She didn't even do a visit to LSU.
Malaysia get dog.
She
Hey,
had
Malaysia,
a
you
phone
getting dog walk.
conversation.
I'm just letting you know. You getting dog walk when you come to Columbia. Letting you know.
Why?
Letting you know.
Is it flop?
Why?
I don't want to.
But see, but that shouldn't even. But that shouldn't even be a rule, though.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get an understanding there.
Free market.
I can understand it. I can understand if it's football, because SEC football is SEC football. That's just don't let this last 2 years or whatever fool you. That's still the conference you want to be in. Because the bottom feeders in the SEC could be running other conferences elsewhere.
Maybe.
Just call it what it is.
That's what we say, but maybe.
I mean, come on.
I mean, when I see Mississippi State getting dog walked by other conferences, it's hard to say that.
Okay, but Vanderbilt could go someplace and run a conference.
Yeah, they could go somewhere and get 7 wins. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying. But they can't get 7 wins in the SEC, not in one season.
They did this year. I believe they did.
Unless they played it. Unless they play the Citadel 10 times and win 7 of them. the Citadel seems to be the SEC team of choice for the surefire homecoming win type shit.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to get an understanding on that, because I remember the stats guy saying, "Who owes me $1?" That couldn't go from one SEC team to another. Yeah, you owe me $1 because he dropped the 20. He dropped the 21. That was the bet. The bet wasn't whether we pick him or not.
No, that wasn't me. That was Lethal. That was Lethal that made that bet. My bet that you about to owe me $1 for is the Pacers.
Wait, okay, remind me.
The Pacers beating the Cavs.
Oh, yeah. Okay, bet. Yeah, that's right. The Pacers beat the. Yeah, that's a disappointment right there, boy.
But no, but I don't even like the fact that the SEC has that rule where, you know what I'm saying, like, you can't go to another SEC school at this time of year. Like, either the kids got freedom or they don't.
Yeah. No, but I can understand it, because you got knowledge of certain plays and certain things going on in the football team that they don't want other teams to know about. And subconsciously or consciously, you could pass that information along to the next team you go to. That could be detrimental to the team you're leaving. I can understand that. This is business.
I don't know.
I wouldn't want you to take my IBM secrets over to, Tesla and use that against me. So why not treat it like a business? Because it is.
Well, shit. Why don't we move it up to professional sports then? No intra-division trades.
They do that more or less.
I mean, it's unofficial. Yeah.
They have a. It's an unwritten rule. It's an unwritten rule in the NFL. It's an unwritten rule in the NFL.
Well, I'm sure.
You gonna say, like when somebody went from the Steelers to the Cowboys. If the Steelers and the Cowboys played this year, they would pull that player into the room and be like, "Hey, what's your offense? Anything you want to share?" Type shit. Sometimes they share it, sometimes they don't. But it's an unwritten rule that you don't. In the NFL,
yeah, I was gonna say, because you ain't gonna see Milwaukee trade Giannis to the Cavaliers.
I forgot when we
And then they turn around and ask Giannis, "Yeah, give me all y'all plays."
I forgot who the guy was.
How hard is that to figure out in basketball?
I forgot who the guy was. We lost. I want to say we lost our defensive coordinator to the Vikings one year, and I swear, he gave them all our plays. Like they knew everything we were doing from adjustments. As soon as the ball was snapped, they knew what everybody was doing. I was like, dog, this. It was not last year. The year before we played them, when we lost, zero coverage.
If I was Steve Wilkes, I would have sent y'all a whole playbook to the whole league.
Steve Wilkes.
I would have sent the whole shit.
And if I was Coach Wilkes, I would have done the same thing to the Panthers
And the Cardinals.
and the Cardinals, exactly. Especially the
Why
Panthers.
everybody do
I
him
would have
dirty?
I would have sent them the security codes to the door,
Yeah, you don't think
telephone numbers and
I
you don't think
everything.
Ben Johnson?
I was in a PowerPoint of Kyler Murray's weaknesses to all the teams in the league.
Yep. Like you don't think Ben Johnson in there talking about the Lions right now?
I'm dead. Giving Caleb all the sauce.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's where it is for me. Is like I don't like sometimes freedom. You know what I mean? Like I just like if you're gonna have freedom, I like all the freedom.
For sure. So before we get out of here, fellas, man, y'all already know what y'all got going on tonight. What's the results?
Pace Cars and Thunder.
Friday, it's supposed to be date night, so we supposed to be outside. I don't know what's going on.
I got $1 riding on this. I'm still sticking with the Cavs. It's a wake up call, kind of like with that Massachusetts team. It's a wake up call. You did what you did during the season to get where you're at, not to fail and become an epic fail in the history of the sport. If both 1 seeds fail to make at least the conference final, you'll go down in history as an epic fail.
So
Boston losing would just be Boston losing. Nobody gives two fucks. But if you're the Cavaliers,
I care.
this hurts more.
You would.
So we got Boston winning tomorrow.
He's at Boston in 6. They got him.
No, we got Boston.
for sure.
We got Boston losing tomorrow, unless Brunson gets injured, and they're in Madison Square Garden on a Saturday night. No,
I got right.
they down.
I
3-0.
got Brunson going crazy tomorrow. Brunson has at least 35 tomorrow.
Celtics in 7.
It'll be
Celtics
Bridges
is sick.
and Hart. Bridges and Hart gonna show their ass tomorrow, because Hart likes a crowd, and Bridges gonna be motivated because of the new pope. So just go ahead and say they.
What I will
As
say
long
is-
as Jason Tatum can go at least 8 for 21, the Celtics win.
What I'll say is that he's gonna go 8 for what was it? 8, what did Kobe do in that thing? 6 for 24.
Yeah, 6 for 24.
whatever Kobe did, if he can find a way to trace it to Kobe, he'll be all right. But seriously,
They'll
the Celtics will not
they'll
be
shoot
predicting
more
that
than
game.
they'll
They won't.
they'll shoot more than 40% from the three this tomorrow. We'll
The
give them
Celtics
that.
will not be
They'll shoot
predicting
more than
that game.
40%.
If the game is within 3, the Celtics will lose every single one.
Damn, why you talking like it's gonna be a sweep though?
I'm not.
Because Duke players can't
It's
handle
100%
the pressure.
gonna be a
Just that
sweep.
simple.
I think it's Knicks in 6.
The Knicks are winning 5 games max.
But I'm telling you, I think
Joe Budden, is that you?
That don't sound good. That don't sound like Lakers in 5. Knicks in 5 don't work. You got to say Knicks in 6.
It happens in
Knicks
Madison
in
Square
6.
Garden.
Knicks in 4. Fuck a Clover.
Damn it.
Fuck
It happens
Green.
in
Fuck
Madison Square
Boston. Fuck Red Auerbach.
Season 6.
Fuck Larry Bird.
Season 6. We about to
all
run
right,
the
so-
table
so-
again, folks. Great.
So what y'all got happening out in the altitude tonight?
Oh, Denver's losing. Denver's
Give me the
done.
MVP.
I'm
Which
going
one?
SGA, bro.
I knew he was gonna say that.
That's-
Which MVP?
SGA, bro.
What was the last score? Didn't they win by
40?
They
40?
won by 43. Yes,
And they would have won by more if they didn't sit their starters halfway through the 4th.
and they would have won Game 1 if their coach didn't have a brain
They
fart.
won a game, like it's I don't think these teams are close.
Denver's not deep enough.
Yeah, I don't think these teams are close, man. I think OKC should have went 4-4-4, dog. They should have straight up won all the way.
Like
it should not be a problem.
I honestly don't know if Denver wins another game in this series. Like, I'm going to say that they will just because of how much respect I have for Jokic, but it would not surprise me if Denver didn't win another game in this series.
OKC will not lose another game.
Okay, you want to put $1 on that?
No, I said might.
You want to put $1?
I said
on that?
might.
You want to put $1 on
No.
Oh, Mike. Okay.
I want to stay up my dollar.
I'm convinced.
See, that's what
I'm
bullshit.
convinced that OKC is the best team in the playoffs, and it's not close.
Bullshit.
I agree. I picked them to win the title the day that they got Hartenstein.
Yeah, you did. It's not close.
So I'm sticking with that. So Golden State still got a chance.
Okay.
What is the injury
As long
look
as
like?
Super Saiyan Buddy healed this year.
They said that he's out for a week.
Man, they don't need
Yeah, they got a
Super
chance.
Saiyan Buddy.
They got a chance. Because even if he comes back in a week, he's not going to be 100%. And if Steve Kerr is any resemblance of a real coach, he'll exploit that injury. So they'll go 7.
I need
It's a
I need
toss-up after
Anthony
that.
Edwards to stop. I need Anthony Edwards to stop playing with my emotion and acting like every time he hit the floor, he out for the season.
See, now you know how I felt every time Anthony Davis went down. It's tough.
Yeah, that man, the way he was holding his ankle last night and had his head in his leg, I was like, oh man. And then this man came out here running faster than he was before the injury.
And all I saw was the thing, because I was at graduation. So like all I saw was a picture. I was like, oh, did he break his ankle?
Yeah.
And then I heard
he did. So this is
do things to you. And then
so this is
calm down. It's not as bad.
So this is my thing. I need Jimmy Butler, as I used to call him. I need Jimmy Bubbles. You know what I'm saying? The problem is that I feel like you gotta beg Jimmy Butler, like, hey, I need you to go out here and be the man tonight. Like, he won't just do it. You have to tell him. And that bubble was also like 5 years ago, so I don't know how capable he is of doing that consistently.
Wasn't that 2019? That's 2019, 2020.
2020.
Okay, but if he does that, doesn't that take shots from other people?
Yes, but he needs to take shots from other people.
Not the
I
way
don't
he
need
does
I
it,
don't
though.
I don't need Draymond taking 10 shots.
Especially Buddy
But
Hield.
not the
I
way
don't-
he does it. He plays a really smart game, even when he's going for buckets.
Yeah. Like I don't need Kevon Looney shooting the ball. I don't need Draymond taking 10 to 12 shots.
No, what's crazy is Kuminga was taking so many shots. Like, how many shots did Kuminga take in that game?
I don't know, but that might be who they need because he's the one that's willing to do what Jimmy Butler needs to do without being told to do it.
Okay, but how do you just go in there and tell him, okay, you suiting up, give me 20 points after sitting him for a playoff series and basically a quarter of the season at
Yeah.
the end, playing with his emotions like that? That's like asking your
There's your
girl.
conundrum. You know what you tell him? Hey, man, obviously I don't like you. So why don't you audition for your next team?
But then what if something happens and you do need him and you all of a sudden like him?
No, it's too late. You already know, like, hey, like this relationship, because I think he's a free agent after this year anyway. So you just tell him, like, hey, this is the last dance, if you will. Go out there, win these games, impress another team, make your money, young man.
Get your money
Like
back, man.
fuck
Get
if
your
you don't like
money.
me. Fuck if you hate me. Go get your money. Because you already know we ain't paying you.
But I mean, would you fault him for not putting in the effort since they played around with him like they did
Yes.
for the last 2 months?
Yes. You're a professional.
You still getting paid, right?
NBA contracts fully
And
guaranteed.
you didn't pout when you got overlooked for advancement and knew you was better than the guy that got advanced, and you didn't pout for a couple of weeks before you just snapped out of it and did your job.
Nah, I do work, man.
Well, it just
I'm
depends on the
talking
situation.
To the military folks, because I know.
Well, it depends on your situation because you could be upset and everything, but you also know what your short. If you're mature enough to look at yourself, if you're mature enough to look at yourself, you know what your shortcomings are too.
Okay, but if you know the guy they got advanced over you, and everybody knows it. If he was a nuts and he still got advanced, you wouldn't talk for a couple of weeks.
I wouldn't.
No, because a lot of times, because a lot of times when that happened, I would just be like, that's what I get for not playing politics.
And no, I would say it's just not my time yet. Like I'm a big believer in everything in time, man. Like I've been passed over by people mad times. Like even in the work that I do now, there's times people get called for speaking engagements, or they get called for contracts, or they get called for stuff, and I know I'm better than them. I know it. It's just not my time yet. And I will also say this: every time something like that has happened, either something nasty was in the water, which I thank God I wasn't a part of that, because now my name would be tied up in something that I wouldn't want to tie it up in, or a better situation came after it that I wouldn't have been able to take if I would have got the first opportunity.
Right.
So for Kuminga, if I'm Kuminga, I'm playing the long game. Like you said, they're not playing me at the rate that I think I should be played. Now y'all need me, I'm going to go ball out and leave.
Like, you think you need me now? Wait till next year.
Wait till next year. You can't look down the bench and see me. I'm not there. I might go out there and put up 30.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to get 120 from the Nets or something.
Dog, whatever. Hit me.
So whatever.
The Nets got that kind of money next year?
Yeah, they got $95 million in cap space.
And they still gonna suck.
The rent ain't going back?
You know what I'm saying? Kuminga and Cooper Flag together.
Man.
Still not winning anything.
No.
But okay. Wow.
How we looking for tonight, fellas?
I probably won't be able to make it tonight.
Date night. I'm never
Oh, yeah, you didn't say date night. All right, so today is Friday. I guess we convene back for the Sunday smoke service.
Yes, sir.
Know what I'm saying? All right, I've been starting.
Sunday, wait. Sunday is Mother's Day. So
it is Mother's Day.
I will be with my wife unless we finish all of our stuff. I probably won't be on Mother's Day because
hello.
In the house. But I would suggest if you don't have plans, fellas, make sure you shout your mom out. Unc, I know.
Absolutely.
Think about you, Unc, on Mother's Day for sure. But yeah, make sure you guys are shouting at your mom. Moms are important. And then do the same thing on Father's Day.
Oh,
what's
now
that?
you asking too much. Now you asking too much.
What's
you know it's necktie season on Father's Day. Stop playing. Neckties and
I
drawers.
I thought it was just I thought it was Mother's Day Part 1 and then Mother's Day Extended.
Nah, yo, not in this house.
Yeah, the extension, the remix.
Not in this house. We
Yeah, because I be seeing them chicks out there. They be talking about I'm mama and daddy.
Oh no,
mama and daddy. Yeah,
we clown that. We clown that big time. Where I'm from, we clown that big time. We actually seek people out to clown on Father's Day for that. But my family does a really good job with Father's Day, man. I got to give them props. Like I got on them a couple of years ago, and they really came through. Like I've had some really dope Father's Day the last few years. So.
I hope it improves for you once everybody get good paying jobs.
Yeah, dog. I can't wait.
My shoe game is drastically improved since my child got a job as a mechanical engineer.
See?
Shout out to Unc in the shoe game, man.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Unc Jr.
I ain't
fellas,
skate, but
y'all already know I have my dog, one half of Sports Reports as ordered 2-5. Mike Will representing live on the motherfucking ones and twos. And you know I have my dog, DJ Radical Jack, Cactus Jack live in the motherfucking building. And you know I got my dog L Residente San Jose representing live. 100 strong, 100 days strong in the motherfucking building. Wait, what day are we still counting or we just in there now?
192.
Come on, bro. 192, man. 192 strong. And you know I got my dog Steel Curtain up. Shout out to George Pickens.
Oh.
you know it's real when Unc don't even say nothing.
Hey, that's
You know what I'm
that's not my problem anymore.
Nope.
I don't have to answer those questions. That's for your boy, Cowboy Mike, to
Coach-
answer now. I am.
Coach
as
Company
old-
strikes again.
As the old folks used to say, nobody's fault but mine. I'm done with that.
We'll take it though. But above all else, and I hope he comes to the Steelers so I can have a real reason to say this every time. Fuck Aaron Rodgers, bro. F
Always.
Aaron Rodgers with a little side of Kevin Durant.
With a side of Kevin Durant.
Kevin
know
Durant,
what
you
I'm
on that
saying?
list, dog. Respectfully.
Catch
With a
us
side of-
again
with a-
for the Sunday smoke service. We
already
rolling the
know.
windows down. We letting the smoke out, man. Smoke with us next time.
Don't eat shrimp from Zaxby's, y'all. Don't do that.
Do not